So I've been using my free will to reread the Bible in its entirety. So starting from beginning and would like to finish through the Old Testament. I also found a really good Ethiopian translation, which has been hard for me to find, but I guess I was ready for it. So it appeared and it was free. So thank you, God. But yeah, so I've been rereading Genesis and very interesting concept. And it's like we tend to blame ourselves for our existence, but nobody blames the abuser who created the situations and scenarios for our behavior. Um, I am not speaking of God. I am speaking of the fractal pieces of God that have went rogue. And I believe, and this is from my perception and from my reading, rereading the Genesis section of the Bible, that we've been bamboozled into thinking that a fractal piece of God is God. And whatever is being presented to us that has created mankind surely couldn't have been God. Just the way that it is spoken about. And I do think that's partly purposely done to control people, to guilt them into feeling like being who you are is your fault, and is literally by design. um, and not saying that you shouldn't take accountability of your actions, you sure should, but if you're going to be at fault, shouldn't what created you be at fault also? Because I don't know, I just kept seeing that, like, there was already consequences in eating from the tree of knowledge, which was literally to have feelings. They realized, and consciousness. So they realized they became consciously aware, and they began to have feelings, such as shame, negative emotions, which you literally just need to know how to appropriately regulate and utilize. They're not a bad thing unless they go uncared for, neglected, and abandoned, or suppressed and act like they don't exist. But there was a lot in there. Some verses that stuck out to me was chapter 3, and it was like verse 4 through 5, and then chapter 3 also verse 22. You can look it up and do your own perception of it, because I'm not here to change anybody's perception. I'm not here to argue with you. You're gonna argue with your damn self till you turn blue in the face, because I don't give a fuck. But I'm just here to report my perception, to document my perception of this. God is also mentioned as the spirit God, which was interesting to me, because if God is all, why make this distinction of the God being Rosh? I think that's how you pronounce it, Rosh. Um, so that was interesting to me. Also, you get to see that certain creator literally utilize other elements. Once again, if God is all, what is this separation and distinction between it was to create earth? Definitely you have to have separation and distinction between different things, such as the waters and the skies. But a lot of things was kind of like redundant to describe. It just seemed very egotistical and very male masculine presenting, like a masculine distorted vision of creation. um Even down to blaming the female, but God created the female. If God was all omnipotent and all knowing, God certainly would have known that this was going to happen, right, and would have accounted for that. So it's like no accountability. Like, God literally went, it reminded me of me, like being a humanoid and like literally like, oh, fuck this shit. You didn't listen to me. Okay, I'm going to show you. They already had consequences. They got to adjust to now having awareness and consciousness and all this stuff on their mind. Like, that was consequence enough. So you punish them even more. That doesn't seem all knowing to me. It seems very egotistical, very controlling. It seems very man like. It doesn't seem spirit like. It doesn't seem as a one connected force. This seems very egotistical. So I don't know. That's just my perception of it. There's a lot of fallacies in the creation story. And once again, it is because at the end of the day, man documented this, and there's going to be the 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 documentation of the story is going to be as honest and truthful as the person who documented it, period, the fuck, point blank. And a lot of things have been taken out, and a lot of things have been literally played with and manipulated. um, as you can already see, mankind is being demonized. Women are being demonized from the jump. Then you also have the point of view that they've taken Lilith, who was the first physical being of our planet. They took that story out. So there's a lot of like stories being manipulated. And then if you look at the creation, if you look at it from an elemental energetic standpoint of how there was nothing, and but there was something. They say it was nothing. It was just complete darkness and water. Darkness and water is associated with feminine energy, so that means the feminine was here first. But some grandiose motherfucker came around and said there was nothing. And it shows clearly that they are creating among the elements that already exist. They're just deriving and pulling from stuff that already existed. They say the darkness is nothing, but the darkness was something. The darkness actually held the light. It just allowed the light to present and show. So it's like a lot of separation, which we know we have to have separation to have the physical representation of things. Um, and just learning just different stuff like the matrix, literally, depending on which language you look it up in, literally just means the mother, the mater. Like, it's the matriarch. And what happens when you distort, demonize, and pervert your matriarch? You're gonna have a fucked up society. So when you literally try to destroy, demonize, and pervert, poison the mother, you literally will poison the father. You will poison the children. And it's very interesting that even though this has been trying to be done, um, we have still rose above it. And I want that to be loud and clear. That's the truth. That we're living out what was never corrected and what was never stopped. And we're living it out. We're living out seeing certain beings hold themselves over other beings, and viewing them as lesser than, and not wanting them to wake up to their full consciousness, literally withholding information under the guise that it is sacred and that the masses couldn't understand it. Literally, if you want a dumb society, you're going to have a dumb world. And if you don't want your society to be able to learn and grow and evolve, you're going to have stagnant world filled with chaos and confusion. And we're living in that now. And so it's just interesting that we're living under the same guise of creation that was presented to us in those stories. And you know, we don't have to. We don't have to. We are living proof that we don't fit those narratives. We are living proof that sacredness does not equate secrecy. And I really do need people who truly say they believe in God to know that you don't have to move in silence. You have to use discernment for sure, but you don't have to move in silence for every fucking thing. Because if you know that God is all powerful, then you should know that you are protected and covered, and you should know that you have nothing to fear, and that you should know that you should be able to walk upright in yourself. And so literally, yes, use your discernment when it comes to certain stuff. But if you are one of those people who have been conditioned, or you're hurt because things have people have hijacked our sacred knowledge, our sacred cultures, our sacred practices, and our sacred existence. You don't have to be like them. When you push the narrative that, oh, you need to stop explaining these concepts, you need to stop breaking it down for them. If they don't know, then they don't know. And that's I get it. But the motherfuckers that know already know. They're the same motherfuckers that keep the information from those who need to know because their birthrights were stolen. So when we have, that's the detriment to closing the practices, to closing up the knowledge. If you close up the practices, you close up the knowledge, and you do not continue to spread it, that shit dies off until it is rebirthed through consciousness through us all. That's why a lot of us do not have the accolades. A lot of us do not have we did not go through the ceremonies and all that stuff. But you can see the power in us. You can see that we have kinship to certain practices that we never had the proper teachings in. It is something within us. It is something that has gotten activated at the appropriate time. And so literally, even if you do try to block that, God will activate it within that person when it needs to be activated. But you can't keep saying that, like, okay, well, I'm going to close this practice up because, they always take everything. The motherfuckers already know everything. They tried to destroy it. They tried to destroy it by getting us to be ashamed to practice and getting us ashamed to live out our cultures the way in their sacredness. Even down to fucking sex. Sex was sacred. And now it's not anymore. So why would we prohibit teaching that sacredness to people? Do we want to close that up as a practice to teaching people how to manifest through sex, sexual energy, all that shit? Like, so I don't know. I be thinking about all of that. Like when y'all think about gatekeeping, you humanoids are humanoids, and you cannot gatekeep spiritual things that God has already assigned and activated for people to have. I find that I've been so attracted to and been pulled towards literal herbal and medicinal like medicines that are natural to the earth. And what I notice is that, because if you fuck around, we gonna find out. I gotta talk to this little chicken, because I already know what time it is with you. You better not fuck with me or my dog, or you gonna be a dead chicken. I wish the fuck you would. I wish you would. I'm not gonna be afraid to be in my home, even though this is temporary. Better find somebody else to fuck with. Alright, so Sassy, come on this way so I can protect you, because if he fuck with you, I'm gonna fuck him up. But yeah, anywho, so a lot of that sacred knowledge needs to be restored. It needs to be repoured. It needs to be poured heavily. I don't know why we keep trying to keep it secret. Sacred and secret is two different things, and I think a lot of people misinterpret that. Sacred is partially to be set apart from, but sacredness also speaks to wholeness. And so to be sacred is to be godly. To be godly, for real, it is to use whatever you are calling or deeming sacred into its best in its entire form. So when I think about it, I'm going to use sex as an example again. On a basic level, sex is pleasure. It is a pleasurable release. On a sacred level, sex is creation. And I'm not just talking babies, but sex is an actual energetic aura, energy. And literally, you can create with sexual energy without having sexual contact with a physical being. The energy is stored in you. Sex can give you more power, so it can create more power. Sex can drain you. if used at your detriment. So one of the things that I want to say is we should be teaching sacred teachings to everyone we want to exist in our society. If they pervert it, it is literally their choice they have made. So if they choose to pervert something sacred, you know what the fuck time it is. Don't sit there and keep letting these things exist, exist as they are. Let them show you who they truly is. Let it be revealed to you who they truly are, and then believe them, and then handle shit accordingly. But to sit there and preach that sacredness needs to be kept secret, secret is mean to hide it. Sacredcy is not to be hidden. It is to be shared among the masses. It is to be the standard. It is to be the example that we strive to to meet and do. So that's just where I'm at with this. Gatekeeping already exists spiritually. You best believe if it ain't supposed to be, it ain't gonna be. So you gotta start realizing this shit, like, it's all an intricate network, and God is not limited as the way we were taught it through their teachings and their customs. I rebuke and reject all that shit. The way I've met God, and will continue to meet God, is in its entirety and in its fractal pieces. And so I just love that ever-flowingness of it, to wane in and out. God is all. That's it. Peace.